Hello. Guys, we'll just wait for everyone to join. We'll just wait till 92093 and then we'll start. I hope everybody's fine with that. We'll just wait for another minute or so and then we'll start. Just freelancing tips is fine. We can use marketing as well. I don't mind either. Whenever there's the need to type, I'll let you know where to type. Don't worry. My audio's clear to everyone, right? To make sure. Okay, you guys cannot unmute. I'll unmute you guys whenever there's the need to. Okay, cool. So I don't think we have to wait anymore. We'll just start. So what I want to talk about today is working in a job situation, working as freelancer, or working as an entrepreneur. What's best and when's the right time to switch? And why can I talk about this topic? It's because I have been in all three situations. Elson did drop a short introduction in that. I would just expand on that. Yes, I was a freelancer. It's been 6 years since I have been a freelancer, but I left that industry in 2 years to get into e-commerce. You can kind of call that entrepreneurship. Also worked with multiple corporates and startups, so I have experience in the job, and I run multiple companies right now, and I already had a startup that was acquired, so I have good entrepreneurial experience as well. So I think that makes me credible enough to talk about this topic. Now, when the topic says, job versus freelance versus entrepreneurship, it's not really about the verses here. It's just about what's best for you at a certain time. I believe everyone should be in every space at a certain point of your life because you don't know what suits you. Life is all about experimentation. It's just you you try this, you try that, and then you find something that works for you. That's why I left school as well. So when you have to experiment with things, I just want to talk about today which is the one that you should start with, and when do you know that your experiment is successful? When do you stop experimenting? When do you realize that yes, this is for me? Now, when you start, I always suggest people to start with what's in front of you. Now, when we talk about job or freelance or entrepreneurship, something that is in front of you thanks to technology today is freelance. Anyone and everyone can be a freelancer. The biggest advantage that I had as a freelancer 6 years ago was no one can see me. They don't need to see me. They don't need to meet me in real life. So they don't care if I'm 10 years old. They most probably don't even know that I'm 10. That's a very good curve and a very good advantage that freelancing gives you. Even if you're an introvert, even if you're shy, and that's completely fine. You don't have to push yourself to go out there and spend money or look for a job, apply to a lot of positions and give interviews. You can skip all that and directly trust your selling skills and trust your technical skills, your hard skills basically, in freelance. For me, I believe that's the place where you should start. That's kind of the best place to start with because freelance gives you a lot of vulnerability as well. You are very open when you're working as a freelancer. When I say that, what I mean is you own the environment you work in. When you own the environment you work in, you realize what's wrong, what's going wrong, and what's going right in your perspective. So it gives you a lot of perspective as well there. Now, When do you know that, am I in love with freelance? Should I go out and experiment? To be honest, I was in love with freelance as well. Freelance, you can make a lot of money as a freelancer. You can be happy as a freelancer. You have all the authority in the world that you would ever need as a freelancer. Now, why would you switch? If you are in a situation where you're freelancing since a year or a year and a half, why would you switch? You would switch to test that out because you need to trust yourself at a point where, okay, you're freelancing, you leave. But when you have to come back, you can confidently come back to freelancing. You should, as a freelancer, try to maintain connections with your clients to a level where if you come back to freelancing, they will be there with you. They will be there to support you. So that is something that you should always have in mind. Don't leave freelancing abruptly until you are like, okay, I am so good at this that if I want, I can come back to this any day. Before that realization point, maybe you're not at the saturation point where you have to leave. Because until that point, you will have a lot of learnings in your path. Another way to start it, now this is one path to start your career. Another path to start with, which is equally good enough and is it's very subjective to choose between the two, is a job. Not really a job, but an internship basically. Because what happens in an internship is you don't really have to, yeah, uh, because when you go to an internship, you don't really have to be at a stage where people are dependent upon you. And that's what you want. That you don't really want people to be dependent upon you because if the company depends on you, on someone who has just started their career, you have you're limiting yourself. You're putting yourself in a scenario where you will be like, okay, if I do that, I might get things wrong. If I try that, that experiment might fail and affect the whole company. That puts you in a limiting space. As an intern, you have the opportunity to learn. Now, what's the difference between working as an intern or working as a freelancer? Taking Mimo, I'll be taking questions after the session. This will be a very quick session, like a 25-30 minute session. I'll be taking questions after that. So, one major difference between freelance, this is what makes it subjective. This is the choice that you make if you're going to start as an intern or you're going to start as a freelancer. The turning point is how much freedom and how much learning do you want? Because what happens is in freelance, there will be only two things from which you will be learning from. One is your journey, your process, and your clients, because those are the two only things that you're kind of catering to. In an internship, the scenario is pretty different because you are there, and you're working for other people, and people are around you that are in the same situation or a little ahead of you, your colleagues and your boss. In that scenario, you have a lot of learning. Now that can also result in a very bad situation where these are not great people to hang out with, but people figure that out. That's not something that you should worry about at all, because there's not one internship out there. There are hundreds and thousands of internships out there. Now, that's the choice you make. You can either choose to be a freelancer and have a lot of freedom, have a lot of working freedom. You can learn anything and everything at any day, and you can experiment a lot. And in a job, you learn structure, you learn hierarchy, you learn how things operate, you learn how to work under someone, you learn how to cooperate with a team. Those are all the things. Those are very important aspects in your career as well. So that's the choice you make. Personally, I made the choice of freelance because no one would hire a 10-year-old. So I was not even in a situation to work as an intern. But today, if I was starting my career, I would most probably start as an intern, to be honest, because that gives me structure and that gives me more learning from a mentor. So you never really intern for a company, to be honest. You intern for a person. You intern for your boss. You intern for a colleague of yours, because those are the people that you will be learning from, not the whole company. That's why I always suggest people not to start their internship, not to start their career with an internship in a corporate. Start your career with an internship in a startup, because you will have more attention and more work there to do. In corporate, you might just be printing sheets. That's not really something that you want to do. Now, that's where the decision point comes in. Do you want to start as an intern or a freelancer? Once you know where you want to start, in an internship, I already told you where that saturation point hits you in freelance. in a job structure, what happens is you just, if there's no growth. Now when I say growth, what do I mean? I mean financial growth, I mean learning curves. Because what happens in freelance is the things that you learn are in your hand. It's not the same with the job. If you are working in a certain position, for example, you're the growth hacker of a company, and you are not the senior most growth hacker in that company, and you don't have certain responsibilities. For example, you only have a certain budget to run ads with. Let's take that example. You will never exceed your testing and your experimentation power because you are limited. In freelance, you're not limited. So that's where you kind of know that okay, this is a place where I don't have my testing capabilities to an extent where I can still grow. If you cannot grow, you have to leave. That's where you leave your job. That's where you leave the corporate. That's where you leave working under a boss. Because if the growth aspect stops, I believe in this a lot. Even if you're a billionaire, you should still keep learning because things change around you faster than you change. So to keep that going on, you always have the need to learn. Now again, in some corporates, they are good enough to provide you that learning curve for a very very long time, maybe even for like 10 or 20 years. If that's present, you don't really need to leave. You can dedicate your life to that. But if that's not present, maybe you should leave. Maybe come back to freelancing, maybe start entrepreneurship. Now when I talk about entrepreneurship, that's something, one thing that has to be very very clear before I start talking about entrepreneurship is, which is a common misconception that I've seen with a lot of people, especially in college. Yes, entrepreneurship is cool, but is that enough to start as an entrepreneur? Not at all. Yes, it's cool to say yes, I'm a serial entrepreneur, I'm a hustler. It's very cool to put that on your LinkedIn profile, sure. But no, it's not. It should never be the only reason for you to start a company, start a startup, because that would never make a lot of sense. Because entrepreneurship is hard. Entrepreneurship is harder than freelancing and doing a job any day, because when you're doing a job, the company's certain responsibilities of the companies are dependent on you, and you're dependent on the company for your financial need. But when you're running a company, a lot of people's financial needs are dependent on you, because if you lose, your employees lose with you. If you shut the company down, your 10, 15, 20, 100,000 employees go down with you. So being an entrepreneur is not easy at all. Being an entrepreneur comes with loneliness. Being an entrepreneur comes with a lot of struggle. It comes with zero time management. It's very hard to manage your time as entrepreneur who has to do R&D all the time. So something that you need to understand is entrepreneurship. Don't do it if just because it sounds cool. When do you start an entrepreneur? As an entrepreneur, when you have the financial capability, that's the first aspect. Zero liabilities, you can start any day. If you have liabilities upon you, then you should think about it. It's never passion. Passion is such a misconception out there. Passion को follow करने के लिए कूदना, सब कुछ छोड़ देना, that doesn't make sense. What makes sense is making a proper plan, making decisions which are dependent on your knowledge and your kind of perception. So to make that decision as an entrepreneur, first thing that you look at is my liabilities compared to my current assets. If I don't have enough money and I have the liability of a family, I have two kids and I'm married. That's a liability that I have, and I have zero finances. If I leave my job, I have nothing which will get food on my table. If that's the scenario, of course you should not leave. That's very very clear. So compare that. See what liabilities you have to compare to your assets, and your food, your rent is also a liability. So see if you have enough savings for that. Because entrepreneurship, again, it's not going to be a one day thing. You won't be profitable in a day. So entrepreneurship is something that, yes, it's very cool. Yes, it's very very giving. But to us, after a certain point, a startup will give you a lot of money. A lot of even fame comes with startup in today's world. But that's on a very later stage. In the stage where you start, that's a stage where you will only and only struggle a lot. That's not the stage of getting things out of your company, but putting things in emotionally, physically, and financially. So that is something that should be very, very clear. Now, when do you know to stop as an entrepreneur and maybe go back? When you just don't feel like having so much authority. Authority is not meant for everyone. A lot of people don't like to have a lot of authority on them, and entrepreneurship comes with a lot of authority. If you feel like I don't want to be in a situation where so many people are dependent on me, I have so many expectations all the time on me, don't don't do it. Just leave, because that's completely fine as well. Person who does a job and a person who runs a company, both of them can be really happy and can be really rich as well. Sundar Pichai is rich. No one can say that he's not rich. He's still doing a job. He's still employed. So you have to understand that very clearly, that being an employee is not necessarily bad. And maybe not even a CEO, maybe you're just a marketing manager, maybe you're just like a UI UX designer, head of design. That's fine. If you are making the amount that you need, that's fine. Satisfaction is something that is important, and what's important is that you continue the pursuit of happiness while you're satisfied. That's all that's important. No matter if you're a freelancer or working for someone or running a company. That's where you make that decision. Am I happy here financially, emotionally, physically? If I'm not, maybe there's something out there which is better for me. If I talk about the technical timeline, that's the kind of the Gyan side of it. The technical timeline, the best timeline possible, start as a freelancer, give it a year. At least give it 3 to 6 months. Don't leave before that, because you don't know shit before that. After a year, you know enough. Once you know enough, you can make the decision of leaving or giving that your life. I would never suggest you give that your life before you know how jobs work and how entrepreneurship works, because freelancing and working in a corporate, in a hierarchy system, it's very different. You don't know which one you might like without getting into that. Give a year to freelance, give 2 years to a job, work as an intern for 3 months, then go and scale from that. After a year or two in job, you would realize if this is for you or not. While you are in a job, you can still kind of start entrepreneurship, and once it gets to a sustainable stage, you can leave your job and switch full time to entrepreneurship. So that is the right timeline according to me. Now, one exception here, which if you can make, you should make always. That is the path that I took as well, and it ended up being a very good place for me financially, but not mentally. So you really have to look after your mental health if you take this path, which is the path of basically two timing, to be honest. If you are working in a company as well as you're working as a freelancer, you are working in a company as well as running another company. Yes, that's possible, but it does drain you out. See if that's something you can do. If you can do the best things to do together, which I did as well. Freelance with entrepreneurship, it's a very good combination. Freelance gives you sustainable income after a certain stage, and entrepreneurship lets you experiment all the time. That's the perfect combination. End up in that. Do a job. While you do a job, build a network, build a freelancing network before that, build a network which can sustain you enough when you are an entrepreneur. Start a company. Until that company makes a lot of money, and until you are at a stage where you can take a salary out of that company, keep freelancing on the side. That's always possible. That's always a possibility. That's the best goal. That's the best combination that I've seen out there, and I have been in for a very long time as well. Yeah, I think that's the end. I think that's good enough. If you guys have any questions, I think we already have a question in freelancing tips. So go on, drop them in freelancing tips. I'll answer the question in freelancing tips itself. We have one question. If we have more, you can drop it there. Otherwise, we can end it right there. Okay. So the question I see is how to keep that connection going on with clients when you leave freelancing. Build a relationship with them. Don't go after platforms. Don't go after Fiverr. Don't go after Truelancer. Don't go after Upwork. Go after LinkedIn. Go after Instagram. Go after Facebook. When you get clients from these social media platforms, you have a different kind of relationship with them. I'm not saying it's not possible with Fiverr and Upwork, but you have a bigger space to work with when you are in when you're finding clients through LinkedIn, Instagram, etc. So basically build a relationship with your clients where they come back to you, where they do want you to work for them. Be irreplaceable for your client and work on long-term contracts. How to build your network? By So there are multiple ways to build your network. Of course, LinkedIn now, again, when I say LinkedIn, I don't mean connection request based. I mean send connection request, talk to people as well. So that's a very good place to be at. Online in the current scenario, LinkedIn is a very good place. Another very good place which has proven for me, it's proven and it's right. I do that all the time. I used to. I can't do it anymore. Which is go attend events. Attend a lot of events. There are startup events all around you. There are even online startup events now. Go to these events and talk to people. Break that barrier. Go and talk to people as much as you can and be fucking shameless. Don't feel like, okay, maybe I should not go to this guy. वो क्या सोचेगा मेरे बारे में? Just go there. If they don't want to talk to you, they will tell you, or they will at least give you a signal to leave. Keep that in mind. Don't be like, वो मेरे बारे में क्या सोचेगा, तो मैं क्यों ही बात करूँ? Because if you don't talk to them, they would never even know you exist. So वैसे भी कुछ नहीं सोचेगा. So don't have that aspect ever. I have done this where five people are talking. They're having lunch on a table in an event. I just go there and sit at the table and I just ask them, is this chair free? Can I talk and can I sit and talk to you? If they say no, I leave. That's fine. But if they say yes, and most probably they will say yes, sit, talk to them. And after 10 to 15 minutes, you can ask them, dude, guys, please, if you feel like I'm stopping all of you, if you feel like I should go, I can leave. Be very open. That's fine. That's the best way to build your network. What is Hive Group of Companies all about? There are multiple companies that are operated in Hive Group of Companies. The major ones are Teen Hive and Skill Hive. Both are edutech startups. I'll tell you about both of them in one line because I don't want to do that in this session. Teen Hive is basically, we take teenagers and we make them an exceptional self of them. We basically teach them things like financial management, time management, life management in the sense कि दुनियादारी क्या होती है, दुनिया चलती कैसे, and get them ready to face the real world, which school never tells them about. That's what Teen Hive does. What Skill Hive does is, Skill Hive is a skill training institute, skill training and identification institute. So basically, before freelance, there's a phase of you trying to test and experiment with, and actually, it's in between freelance. To be very honest, that's what I did as well. Learn a skill, learn it, implement it, and you would know if you're in love with that skill or not. That process, we kind of want to skip that and put that in uh, kind of like a funnel format. That's what Skill Live does. How to know when to switch from job to another job or job to startup. So I think job to startup I answered. I'll take that in brief again. Job to another job. This is again, this is something I missed. Thanks for pointing it out. To know when you should switch from one job to another, again, measure your growth curve. Don't see your present, look at your future. Do you see your future changing if you are in a different job? Don't only look at finances. I'm not talking about your current salary. I'm talking about the things that you would learn that would make you irreplaceable for that particular company. Because today, automation's coming in, you will be replaced very easily. Most of the people are being replaced. Even I have replaced a lot of people with a lot of SaaS products, to be very honest. Don't be that guy who is replaced. Do not be that guy. See, is there a company out there that needs you more than this company and will give you more because it needs you more? Make sense? Okay, you can't answer. Sorry. Thanks for answer. Anytime, buddy. How to deal with clients who are never satisfied with your work? Leave them. Dude, see, again, I think this is coming from design. This mostly comes from design. So what happens is when you have a client who doesn't like your work at any point, first of all, your payment. So a very important aspect here is money. Do they pay you in advance? Do they pay you upfront? Do they pay you later? But a very short answer to this would be, you should just, if your client is never satisfied with your work, you should just tell them, okay, I'm not meant for you right now. Maybe later, maybe someone else is meant for you, and leave. Because that will also give you a learning curve. If they are never satisfied with your work, you most probably are doing something which is not meant for them, which might be meant for someone else, or might be meant for no one. So you have to kind of learn with that. But yeah, short answer, leave, find someone who is satisfied with your work. If no one is satisfied with your work, then you need to change your work. From where did you get the knowledge of freelancing 6 years ago? Google. Google is the best tool out there. To learn any skill. Even when I work with four skill based institutes now, and I own one myself, I'm still telling you this. Google and YouTube is the best thing to uh, kind of learn. I've seen people hand out business cards at events. How else do I make someone remember me today? You are going to do your base. If you hand out business cards at an event, no one is going to fucking remember you. That's a very stupid thing to do. Doesn't make sense at all. A better thing to do is either talk to them at the event itself, exchange numbers, exchange LinkedIn profiles. If that's not a possibility, talk to them for a very brief amount, then go to LinkedIn, because I can understand you should not be talking to one guy for the whole event. Doesn't make sense. Talk to one guy for 5-10 minutes, go home. When you go home, in the first 2 to 3 hours of you talking with them, maybe even at a lunch break at the event, go to LinkedIn, send them a connection request with a very good personalized message that okay, we met here, we had this conversation, da, 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 da. And also, and when I say also, what I mean is ask a question, leave that with a question and start a conversation there if you really want to know about them. Okay, I just switched to a different server. Yeah. What was your first freelancing work? The first ever project that I did was content writing. Yeah, as yeah, it was content writing. Yeah, that was the first thing I ever did, and that was for $500. I'm currently a final year student, done with 2 internships, stuck at freelancing, unable to build network. Major problem being fear of taking risk. How could I push myself to take more risk and maybe also get used to rejection somehow? See, get used to rejection. The only answer is be rejected as much as you can, and you get do that by if you are in a client-facing position, you will get a lot of rejections. I have personally, this happens with a lot of agency owners and freelancers in the marketing world. When you cold call people and when you cold email people, they will tell you no and they will even abuse you at a certain stage. You will cry, that's fine. Move on, do it again. Do it again, do it again until you are not afraid of getting rejected. Unable to build network. I think I told everyone how to build a network. Major problem being fear of taking risk. Okay, I don't think building a network, the fear of taking risk is involved. The main risk is being judged. I think I explained why you should not have that and how to kind of do things. Uh, what according to you is the best platform among Fiverr, Upwork, etc. apart from Fiverr's good but very competitive. Upwork's good but you need to be highly skilled. So I think both of them are fine. See what works for you. There's no one best platform for anyone. See what works for you. Can you summarize today's event at the end? Maybe one of you can, or someone can leave the summary. I don't think this is being recorded. Otherwise, you will get the recording, and or someone else will leave a summary most probably. If I have time, I would. Then freelancing for introverts. Of course, dude, freelancing is meant for introverts. And understand this again. I don't want to get into psychology a lot because this session is not about that. But no one is an introvert all the time. You keep switching between being an introvert and an extrovert in front of different people, right? If you're with your family, you won't be an introvert most probably. If you're in front of your friends, you will most probably not be a highly extrovert person or a highly introverted person. But when I talk about freelancing, you're basically never ever facing someone, and when you're doing it through a platform, you're mostly not even talking to them a lot. So that's what it's meant for. How to get a client to come how to get a client to come back to us for services apart from media. Okay, I don't really get the second part of your question, but how to get a client come back for a services, be irreplaceable, be good enough with your pricing and with your work that he or she has to. How do you do your freelance contracts? Do you have any references? Also, how do you do your billing? If it's from a platform, no need of contracts, no need of billing. It's through a platform. If it's out there, yes, I do contracts. I used to use PandaDoc. My agency now, a very good friend, some of you even know him, Sumedh, recommended contract book. We are shifting to contract book. So contract book or PandaDoc, both of them are good enough. See what works for you. Yeah, that's how you do your freelance contracts. How do you do your billing? Zoom is a product of PayPal, and even normal PayPal is fine, but the transaction fees is a lot. And another thing can be TransferWise. I think I don't use it, but another friend of mine recommended it because not been in the freelance game since a long time. Should I start looking for a startup during college? For sure. Don't wait. College is not going to teach you anything related to your work, most probably. So don't wait to learn. You're never really going to learn anything that you will implement in that startup. Look as soon as possible. Show them that you need them, that they need you and you need them. I got my first job by emailing the founder of that startup and forcing him to give me a job. And I worked for them for free for 3 months, and that was the plan, that I would work for them for free for 3 months. They started paying me in a month, and I left in that. I left the second month because I realized I know all that I could learn from this place. So show aggression. You have to be aggressive. If you when you're approaching your first people, you need to show them aggression. A good aggression, not don't get me wrong here. What are marketing segments you think will be automated in a few years according to you? A major part of marketing will be, for example, running ads, scheduling posts, all of that is already automated as well. Uh, a lot of management will be automated as well, like monitoring employees is also something which will be automated. So that's something you should skip. So anything that needs a lot of input from the human brain is harder to automate. See what needs a lot of input from your brain. And like any job which needs very less input from your hands and very high input from your brain, you are irreplaceable in that job. So find these jobs. For example, packaging boxes, that is already automated because it's not at all related to you using your brain. It's all your hands. So see jobs where you have to use your brain more than your hands. How do you suggest one defend their rates when freelance? I think you mean define their rates. Basically, how does someone know how to price their services when freelancing? I'm guessing. Uh, just see how the industry is operating to your experience levels. When you're just starting out, do 5 to 10 projects for free. I did them as well. Build a good reputation and relationship with your first few clients so that they get you more clients. It's been 2 months since my job now. It's very boring and I want to quit it. So if I quit it, will my next employer see me as an unreliable candidate? If they only and only see your resume where it says that you quit in 2 months since your first job, yes. But that's why you're there. That's why interviews are there. Because we as employers don't depend on resumes. For me, I would consider this a current situation that you applied to a job in my company and I'm taking your interview. My first question would be why you left. If you can justify me the right reasons for you leaving your previous job, no one minds it. But don't focus on that until your employer is. I generally don't really see that a lot. I don't really care about that a lot. But again, that's very subjective. Don't mention it until your employer is asking for it. I see someone typing, so if you have a question, you can quickly type it and then we'll end it. Okay, I have a few in my DM. What to do when I am. First of all, guys, for everyone who has DM'd me, can I talk? Can I like say your question out loud? Just send me a yes if I can. Otherwise, I won't. I'm currently doing 3 paid internships, flexible time at the same time to just fund initial marketing campaigns for my startup. What would you do if you were in my place? I would leave those 3 paid internships and take all the learnings. I would actually complete them. They would be in a certain time period. I would complete them. I would see if I can work without flexible time on like a sustained proper time calendar and still run my company. Then I would continue doing those 3 paid internships if I am in love with them. Otherwise, I would just kind of leave and do freelance, because that will give me a lot of freedom to choose my clients and my time. And again, also that also comes with freedom of money. I might get one client who pays me 10 lakh a month. Okay, maybe a little exaggerated. That rarely happens with a freelancer. I might get a client who pays me 10, 15,000 bucks, an internship which pays me 5,000. By defend, I meant how to deal with clients who say you are too expensive, and how to defend your rate. Don't defend your rate. If they feel like you're too expensive, now again, this is a little part of sales. This is a little learning from sales. Uh, I would say don't defend, because if you should always trust your pricing. You should not be like कि यार बगल में बंदा जो है वो ये चार्ज कर रहा है तो मैं भी यही चार्ज करता हूँ. Don't be like that. You should know how much you should charge, how much your work, your efforts will be worth. If you believe that they are worth, justify your pricing to your uh, consumer, and that's it. You're done. Again, after that, if they feel like no, it's not justified, just say sorry and move on. Don't negotiate a lot, to be honest. Yeah, Nikhil put it in a very good way. That's a good brief. Don't defend, just justify your pricing. If that doesn't suit them, leave. Learn to say no, guys. It's not necessary that you say yes to your every client, just like every client won't say yes to you. You kind of have to learn how to be rude to a certain extent as well. Okay. Uh, Someone has tagged me, but at a different place. Okay, guys, let's stick to uh freelancing tips. But okay, I have a question in tech. Heard you do drop shipping. Here we go again. Indian suppliers don't have great margin. Chinese shipping has taken a hit. How do you position it? How to find the best suppliers? Also, how do you deal with packaging when the supplier can be careless? Thanks for answering a question and dropping your experience. Anytime, buddy. Answer to all, you have three questions here. Answer to all three is one. Don't do dropshipping. Why I say that? It's a saturated industry which is going to die very soon. Don't depend on it. That's the reason I did dropshipping. I don't do it anymore. I made a lot of money from it and left, because I understood that this is not something which will give me the same amount of money in the next 10 years. Dropshipping will die in the next 5 to 6 years. Don't depend on that. Depend on branding. If you can brand your e-commerce store with dropshipping, cool, do it. But at a certain stage, you will still stop dropshipping, because once you're a brand, you kind of want to depend on your own manufacturing or your own co-packer. I have two, no, I have three questions in my DM, but I don't have an answer to if I can say them out loud in the VC or not. So I don't know if I should answer them or not, but I won't answer them on text most probably. I won't answer them at least till a week. So you guys can let me know if I should answer them out there or not. Joshi, dude, say yes or no in my DM right now. Do you want me to say your question out loud? Okay, it's not personal. I think I can say it. Cool. What are your thoughts on MLM? Is it freelancing or entrepreneurship? It's nothing. It's bullshit. Moving on. Uh, okay, I have another question. I would just say it out loud if I have. I'll just read it once. Yeah, okay. It's not personal. It's not highly personal. What to do when I have joining in tech MNC company on a particular date, and I do at a job at a startup to make tech hardware. But startup has no funds for 6 months, but they can get investment in the long run. So what to do? Okay, if I was in your situation, I would actually see if again now again the question that comes is, do you really need the money? Are you liable to something that you really need the money? If I really need the money, just kind of quantify what do you need more. Do you need long term growth more, or do you need that short term money right now? Because even with that short term money, you can grow in the long term. You can leave and go back to a startup. So that's fine. I am thinking to start with freelance, but after that, what should I do? I just did a whole session on that, buddy. What are you saying? Nikhil, I think he's asking about what to do after freelance. But yeah, in three short words, pick a skill, build portfolio. That's how you freelance basically. Cool. I think we are done. Great session, guys. I hope I was able to provide value. If I would appreciate any feedback that you can provide in main, you can tag me and provide any session that you want, and I would appreciate. Cool. See you guys. Bye.